Hi, I'm Ron Kolick, and I'm a teacher at the high school. Thank you for taking this mini course with me. I really hope it helps you prepare for the coming challenges we will all face this school year. As you watch the following video, please don't get confused. I recorded it previously as part of a webinar that I offered with Keisha's College. So at times you might see me say, do you have any questions and things of that nature? Just sort of ignore that. We will use the Schoology discussion prompts though for our discussion. So please post your comments, your questions, your concerns, and feel free to pause the video, take notes, go back and watch it later. So I really hope that it's a helpful resource for you. And thank you so much. Have a great day.
And so what I want to start today, and I want to really get into this session, and if there's something that comes up from last session that you kind of thought you want to ask questions about, you can keep that going, is I really want to talk about Schoology rubrics. And to me, this is, I think, one of the really great features about Schoology is, how we can quickly, easily assess our students online building these rubrics. How many of you, I guess, are already using Schoology rubrics? Is anybody using them already? Not seeing any hands raised. Look at my second page. Anybody else still using Google Rubrics? Nothing like that. Okay, good. So this is going to be really great. This is a super awesome tool that I think is one of the best tools that Schoology has because you can access it really anywhere. I use, and again, I wish I could bring my app, my phone on the screen. But if you haven't used already, start using the app, the Schoology app on your phone. Schoology app, how many of you are using the app on your phone? Is anybody using that app on their phone for Schoology? Some of you are, some of you are not. It's a great tool because what you can do is everything you see on your screen is on your phone. And if you're using these rubrics, you could literally have one screen open, looking at students' work, and you can use your phone to quickly grade the rubric. What I do in class is if there's a class assignment that I'm grading them while they're working on it, maybe it's like a homework check or some kind of group check, I'll be walking around with my phone, clicking the rubric and hitting submit as I'm walking around the class. And then those grades go automatically to your gradebook if you do sync your gradebook with Schoology. So in terms of a workflow, it's super easy for you. Once you set them up, you always have them. And in terms of giving feedback for students, it's great because you can give a really precise rubric and the students obviously know exactly what they want to do and what they scored well on and what they might need to improve upon. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is how do you make a rubric. There's actually two places to make a rubric, and I'm going to encourage you to always make your rubrics in one place over the other, and there's a reason why. So the place that I'm going to encourage you to do is to make your rubrics through the Resources tab on Schoology, and there's a selection there called Add Rubric. Now, not to confuse you, but there's another place to add a rubric. If I go back to my courses, if I go to Add Materials, right, and if I make an assignment, there is an option there. If I make an assignment, and if you're making your assignment, which I know a lot of you have used this interface already, and there's a scale rubric feature, and it says, oh, create a new rubric. Well, the problem is if you make that rubric there, that rubric is only tied to this assignment, and it's awful hard to reuse this rubric that you created with other assignments. Does that make sense? It's really tied to that one assignment. And that's nice, but that's not nice. You're like, oh, that's a great rubric and I want to use it again. And sometimes it's hard to get a hold of it. You can search, there's a way to get to it, but it's really cumbersome. So what I'm showing you is the better way to do this is if you go to Resources, and let's walk our way through it. And if you're in the Resources section, I have a folder that I call Rubrics. Well, I made a folder and I put all my rubrics in there. But you can go to Add a Resource. You can add a folder if you guys knew that. And then when you open the folder, you can do the exact same thing. But you can add a rubric, and that's how it works. Okay. Now, with rubrics, it's really kind of an easy interface. Okay, you give the rubric a title, test, whatever. You can give it criteria. You can build your criteria, or you could tie it to learning objectives. And then you can give it a description, and you can change the point scale here to anything you want it to be, 10 points. And then you can go down here and change it to whatever, 8 points. You can add, cells in between. And you can add more criterias, right? Whoops. You can build this as much as you like, and then the points keep on building down here. And then when you're done, you press create. That's it. I mean, it's a really simple, easy kind of rubric creator. Now, sometimes I'll show you, I like to build rubrics where maybe I want to give a comment, but I don't want to assign points to it. Well, what I've done was then I would just erase, I would just give zeros for all this and just like erase all these criteria. Like I would just get rid of, I would delete this, I would delete this, and I'll show you an example what I'm talking about. I would delete this, I would delete this, and I give it a 0. And then I give a description here, and I can just mark it, and it doesn't affect their grade, but at least students know that this is something that I noticed. It could be a positive aspect or something that I want them to improve upon, but I don't want it to affect their point value here, because as you score this, it will automatically add it up. Okay? Does that help? All right. You can do a feature like this. I have done this where I've done like -5 points, and maybe it was like late, and then it actually will work and it will take points off. So say you have like a late policy where for every day you lose a percentage of points because of an assignment, then you can actually keep on doing that. And then that's kind of a useful feature. I've tried to do the plus because sometimes I give bonus points. That doesn't work. And it kind of messes it up because when you sync it with Schoology, we sync it with PowerSchool, you kind of got to go in and kind of fix it. So if you like to add bonus points, which I do all the time, you kind of still have to do that manually in PowerSchool. Okay, does that make sense? Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. I wish it did. That'd be kind of nice, but that doesn't quite work. So that's kind of how you build one. So I want to show how this all ties together. So I'm going to cancel this, and I'm going to go in my rubrics here. I have a whole folder. I've been building these forever. I taught AP World. I've been using this for a long time. Up to just recently, I just made these back like in April to kind of facilitate some of the things that we were doing. So I made this one to facilitate what we were doing with all these shared note sheets that I asked kids to go on to Cami to highlight, annotate. I asked them to go to a Google Doc to combine their notes. And then I asked them to make Flipgrid video posts. There's a lot going on there. So for me, I just made this rubric. I can open it up. Their Google Docs, I have points, I have a description of what was good in their Google Doc, the Flipgrid, the Cami, but then you see how I had like these zeros, Google Doc missing. You did not contribute to the shared Google Doc. They knew that I went into their revision history, and I pointed out, this is why you got a 0. You're not on the doc. Email me when this part is completed. Flipgrid, you didn't create one. The Cami, there's no links to your Cami or your Google Doc. Well, where is it? So I use it as both an assessment tool, but also as a tool to give comments so students knew what was missing. That's why I made those 0. I can still click on them, okay? And that's how it works. Now, what's really nice is when you make a rubric in here, here's how you do this. Now, there's this little gear over here. You hit that, and now you add it to your course. And that's when you add it to your course, you go into your courses, and you click on which course you want that rubric to be a part of, okay? And then it's automatically in your course. Okay, so what's nice then is if you go back to Schoology and you make an assignment, right? Now when you go to your scale rubric, all the lists of the rubrics that you share to your course are there automatically, and you click it, that rubric is there ready to go. You want to show it to the students, and you set up your assignment, and the rubric is good to go. It's there automatically. So once you start building these rubrics, you start making them, you always have them. And the next year, you go to your new courses, they'll still be in your resources folder, and they'll always be there for you, okay? Questions so far about rubrics? Let me show you then examples, I guess. So here, I'll go back to that assignment that I just showed you that rubric from, the one that had all that stuff going on with it. So that was from some of the last things that we were doing together, and it's module 10, Vietnam War. And, oh, where did I go? I went to the wrong spot, sorry. Back to module 10, making you dizzy here. There we go. And that was at the bottom, one of the Kinsvater class note sheets. Okay, so see how this assignment, it shows you the rubric. That's the rubric that I was just working on. So I go open that up, and there is the rubric. It will show you on Google, it shows you right in Schoology. If I make it visible, the students will see the rubric. And then when I grade it, I can just go into any grade. I can open up the grade. This was a group assignment, but I can open up this person's grade, and then I can just click, 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 click. And then I can even add in a comment, I could add a comment on each objective if I really wanted to. The students will see that only if they click back on the rubric. But if I add a comment, if I save this and add a comment down here, which it won't let me do until I save it, that comment will appear in PowerSchool if you sync it to your actual grade book. Okay, and that's really nice. You just go to the next student, keep on flipping through them, and then you kind of have it all really ready to go. That's how that works. Now, one other thing I want to show you though is if you have a rubric tied to an assignment that has a Google Doc, it also works. Okay, so I can go out of here and I can show you an assignment that's tied to a Google Doc. Doesn't really matter which one it actually is. Let me show you an example of assignment. So we're doing all the stuff on Washington's Crossing. And this was a team note sheet. It was, and there's the rubric. So I open up that assignment again. Remember, that was a Google Doc assignment, but I made the rubric in Schoology. And if I go to submissions, right, and then that student got 20 out of 20, I scored the rubric. Boom. And that was just a real quick one. It's a real easy assignment, just 10 points, 10 points. But I made that rubric in Schoology. But see how it looks a little bit different here? Because it's tied to a Google Doc assignment, but it's the exact same interface. I made that rubric over in the resources tab. It just looks a little bit different when it's attached to a Google Doc, but then the students will see that grade and then I sync it to PowerSchool. It's all there for them. Okay. So it's a really super useful thing. And I can't, how many times I score stuff on my phone. It just makes it really easy in their app. You're just clicking the number, your thumbs, and it's really, really nice and easy to do. Okay. So is there any questions about rubrics? Was that helpful? That's a great way to have an easy workflow to keep stuff together on Schoology. Okay. All right. Wonderful. Kind of moving on then. So I showed you all that. Now, there's also obviously a lot of other ways to assess students online through Schoology. And here I'm a little bit at a loss. I'm not sure how much of this you're using, how much of it you're not. And that's why, just in case, I'll just kind of start from the beginning a little bit and show you some of the differences. So if we go back, let me get out of here, cancel all the stuff. Let me go into my course. Let me get back to my course page. So in terms of assessing students online, and if I go over here to add materials, right? Boom, here we go. Obviously, there's a lot of ways you can do this, right? We talked about adding assignments already, and that can be tied to anything you want it to be. But are you using the embedded test quiz features of Schoology? How many of you are using those features? Okay. All right, great. Are you using this one, the add test, or do you guys have the add assessment one too? Do you guys have that one too? Are we using both?
We have both, yeah.
So we're already using these, right? Yes and no a little bit?
Some people are, some people aren't, but they're learning about them this week.
Okay, they're learning about this week? Okay, good. So that's fine. So I'm going to kind of just give you a quick overview of some of the actual differences of that. Okay. All right, so here we go. So you get name, boom. You can obviously make a quiz, make a numeric, whatever you want it to be, give it a category. I'm going to do mine as ungraded, and I'm going to make it sure it's not published so all my kids don't freak out. Test example 1. All right, which is fine. And you can create it. And then we're at the bottom of it. This is where it now gives you a lot of the different options. All right, it's going to give you add a question. It's going to give you the settings of a quiz and things like that. So you can add your questions here. This is like the easiest interface. You want to make a true/false question. You got it. You got the editor here. You can write your true/false question. You can make it a timed question. You can assign points to it. You can align it to your objective if you need to actually do that. If you just talked about it, which is certainly fine. Or you can make multiple choice questions, true, false, short answers, and then you can do the whole settings. And I'll show you an example in a moment of how this all actually looks. One of the things that sometimes is hard to do is that you actually can create a quiz bank. You can create a quiz bank in 2 different ways. If you have a bunch of questions that you love and you want to use, you can manually go into resources, okay, and you can add a question bank. You give it a name, and you have to manually import each of those questions in individually. Now, why would I want to do that? Here's the thing that's really nice about that. If you create a quiz from a question bank, you can assign a quiz to your students. Say you have a question bank of 40 questions, and you're only going to give a 15 question quiz. What's nice about the question bank is that for test security online, you can assign that quiz to the students. You can have Schoology randomly assign different questions to different students. So they'll all get questions from that 40 question quiz bank, but they'll only get 15 questions out of that. So they won't get all the same questions. And then if you added other features like randomizing the question order and all that kind of stuff, it cuts down a little bit on students having the chance to actually cheat if they're taking a quiz online together. You know, they're not all getting the same questions. Is it foolproof? By all means, no, you know that. If they're home and they're taking these quizzes at home, they're going to find ways to try to, you know, make it easier for themselves, right? Obviously. But if you're in school and you want to do that quiz as an actual assessment, you can do that. I'm not sure about iPads, if you can do this or not. I know in a Chromebook, we could set up our Chromebook with Schoology to open up in a kiosk feature where it will lock down the quiz, that for that time, the student can only work on that quiz on the Chromebook. They can't go anywhere else. They can't go to a different browser. They can't go to a different site. They're just locked into that in school. That works great for in school, but you know, at home, they're home, they might have their iPad taking the quiz, but they got their laptop looking stuff up, or they got the iPad taking the quiz. They're gonna have multiple devices open at the exact same time. So obviously at home, doing online quizzes, there is no answer for that. It is the nature of the beast. I'll share with you how I approach it in a moment. The other really quirky thing you can do with Schoology is that you can actually import questions from a Blackboard file. Now, what is this? If you are using a certain textbook and that textbook provides questions to you, right? Like a test generator. I'm not gonna go through this all right now because it's really clunky. There is a way to create a quiz in that textbook test generator, whatever you're using, whatever software you have, and then you export that quiz as a Blackboard file. Blackboard is another online learning tool. If you export as a Blackboard file, then you can import those Blackboard file questions into here. Does that make sense? And then you can import those automatic generated textbook questions if you want to use them. If you don't have that ability and you have great questions like old Regents exams or the case may be, you have to import them directly. You can't even import them through Castle Learning. It doesn't work that way. Okay. So is that helpful? So let me show you examples of some of the way I approach it. So before we knew the Regents exam was canceled, one of the main things that I do a lot with my kids is that I give them online quizzes for home. And they're just quizzes based off general US history questions. So even though my students are juniors and they're taking this course from Ag University, which is about American military history, they were, for the most part of the year, thinking they also had to take the US Regents exam, right? And that all changed in March. But to get them ready for that, they had to take these online quizzes. So this is an online quiz I created, just kind of like topic 9. I can do the preview of it, and it was just a simple online, multiple choice quiz, gave them a timer for it. And to do all that is in the settings. So if you go to the settings of your quiz, you can give instructions, you can enable submissions, you set a time limit. I give them 25 minutes. I let them only do it once. I randomize the order, but I did say it was resumable. And what that means is that, say their browser shut down or they accidentally closed their tab out, they can get back into it. It doesn't change the clock though. The minute they resume, the clock never stops running. So if they close their tab out and logged in 10 minutes later, they lost 10 minutes. The clock doesn't stop. It keeps on running. It knows. And I've had kids do that at the beginning of the year, like, I just logged out. I didn't know I lost my time. The first quiz, I'm like, yeah, it's all right. Don't worry about it. But then they get used to that. And that's how you can kind of set up your feedback for it. These questions I actually did get from a textbook generator. So I made a question set, and then see how the question set had only 26 questions, but I'm only giving them 15 out of the 26. So kids got different questions that, all students didn't get the same questions and everything was kind of randomized. Now, the way I did this is I said, listen, this is for your benefit. I'm going to give you a grade if you do it. If you do it on time, you get full credit. If you got 85 or above on that quiz, I give you a bonus credit and I give you a badge. I'm going to get to that in a moment because it's a fun way of assessing through Schoology. I give you a badge. Now, the way I have my course set up, if students get 5 badges on Schoology, they get a rank, and then that rank, this is going to get confusing, gives them bonus points on their quarter average. So there was a built-in incentive to do well in the quizzes, but if you only got, you did a 15-question quiz, you only got 10 out of 15 right, no harm, no foul. It was just to practice, and you got full credit for doing the quiz if the quiz was done on time. So that, for me, was a way that these quizzes can still be effective for kids online at home. You don't have to give them a hard grade on it, okay? Does that make sense? And I'll come back to the badges in a moment. That's a really fun thing with Schoology. You can make your own badges in Schoology and award kids badges as just bonus credit. All right, so let's get back out of there. And
Ron, question for you.
Yeah, please.
What do you advise in terms of the length of an assessment you would give in the classroom versus the length of an assessment you give online?
Yeah, that's a great question. So how long are your periods? Are you like 40-minute periods, 45? What do you guys have?
40.
40. That's what we have too. I don't know. I always, for the online quizzes, I only usually kind of gave mine as like 25 minutes or half an hour, just because there wasn't that many questions, only about 15 questions. For larger review assignments towards the end of the year, have I given like 25, 30, 40 question reviews? Unfortunately, yes. Only because it's a Regents class, and this was the old Regents that was very much repetitive, right? In terms of the questions that they asked, that's all changed. I know our curriculum has changed for US. That's less of that repetitive nature. When they were really repetitive, I would give 30, 40 review questions and have them. They had like 45 minutes to work on it, or like an hour. But again, that was in the old. Now students are all home and they're getting inundated with tons of questions. Do they really need to be sitting online all day taking online assessments, right? I don't know if that's really the best answer either. So I think maybe, if you can shorten the amount of questions, I think it's a good thing. If you're still giving them a good variety of questions and those questions assess the major aspects of what you want them to learn from that particular unit or what the case may be, then I think less is better, at least initially. Does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your questions.
Sister Kelly is asking in the chat, do the kids really like the badges?
I do. I'm going to get back to that. They actually love that. I'll give you the backstory of that in a moment. I want to share a couple more things, and I'll dive into that. And it's funny, I didn't put that even on my PowerPoint slides and my slides here. And as I was going through the presentation, I said, "Oh my gosh, I got to talk about badges before I talk about screencasting, because that's a really important part of assessing students on Schoology." So I will get to that point. So back to assessment. So that was like the standard assessment. Then there's just more of this like high-end assessment tool that came out a couple years ago for Schoology. It's a little bit different. And I'm being honest with you, I don't use it all that often, and I probably should more, but it's got some really cool features. I can go test 200. You can change all this, obviously. I'm going to go ungraded right now because I don't want to mess anything for my students, and I'll unpublish it. I'll go create. And here you have a really different setup. You know that the setup looks much more like the Google Doc integration setup. It's just a lot cleaner. It's a lot just different. And here you have many more options on how you want to assess students. They have a time limit. You can do all that. Are questions randomly ordered? Yes. Here you cannot import from a question bank. That was one of the things why I stopped using it, because I like that question bank feature to have different questions given to different students. That isn't part of this. So, but you can kind of set it up for one time, multiple times. Students can, there's an embedded notepad. They can highlight text on the screen. There's a great assistive technology, a text-to-speech toolbar, which is really good for our students who need that. And then you have the questions right here. And again, they still have multiple choice questions, true, false, ordering, matching, fill in the blank, short essay. But here, there's some really cool features that I'll just show you, not examples, but show you what they do. You can upload a audio recording, and the students listen to the audio recording as part of a question, and then they have to answer a question about the audio recording, and the audio recording is already embedded right in the assessment. So right away, I'm thinking foreign language students, right? You have an audio file of a passage of a different language, and the students got to listen to that passage, and they have to write down what it means. And there's even a cool like matching text, so you can kind of write down like what it is, and it will actually grade it for you, which is kind of nice. They give you some alternative ones. The video is the same premise. You can upload a brief video. I think it's up to 10 minutes, 600 seconds. And same idea, they could watch a video and they could, you can assess it. Here, I don't use this as much because I still love Edpuzzle, but in my Edpuzzle is integrated with Schoology, which we'll get into more next week. But that's a way to maybe get around Edpuzzle, is that you can upload videos right into Schoology and have students watch them on Schoology rather than Edpuzzle. Label image is kind of nice. You give them an image, and this is great for like science, I'm thinking, or even math. You give them an equation, and they have to kind of like give it a statement about it. So you give the image, and then you can type in there what the answer is about that image. They can highlight an image, they can highlight text. This is great for close reading. You want them to do a passage, they highlight it right on it, and you can assess their highlighting. We can do some Cami too, math, short answers, number lines, charts. So there's just a lot more variety of the questions that you can do here in terms of what you did in the traditional assessment features. Okay, so that's kind of what that's all about. All right, questions about that? Just play around. They're just fun. They're great and they're interesting. So let me get into badges and what this is all about. So what I'm going to do is actually go back into my slides here. And I forgot to share this picture with you last week. And this is kind of where this all began. So here's a picture. Let me get into, this is the backboard of my wall. And years ago, when I was teaching AP US, before we even had Schoology, I would have a sticker chart in the back of my room. All right, I'm sure many of you have used the old-fashioned sticker charts. You know what I'm talking about? The little blocks on them, and you can put stickers on kids' names, right? My wife's an elementary school teacher, so obviously I kind of stole that from her. It's really big in the elementary school students, but I was teaching juniors. So my premise back then was I gave them stickers for doing well on quizzes and stickers for doing well on tests. And the more stickers you got bonus points. For every 5 stickers you got a star. I remember putting a gold star on the back of the board, and then the stars they got bonus points on that quarter. I remember after a test, you'd have all these kids in the back of the room like swarming the sticker chart because they want to see what sticker they got on the chart, and they were like history related stickers, right? This is going back probably over 10 years ago, probably 15 years ago. My gosh. Anyway, a long time ago. But then as Schoology kind of rolled on, and I knew there were badges on Schoology, I kind of wanted to digitize this. And then as I started teaching this American military history course, I kind of designed a system that was kind of all revolved around it. So here was my system. I told you that my students at the beginning of the year pick a regimental unit to be the name of their team for the whole entire year. And that's the insignia. These are real regimental units. Like this is the famous 442nd Infantry Combat Regiment that fought in World War II. This is the one that was the all Japanese American units that fought in World War II and were highly decorated, even though some of their parents were in the internment camps out west. All right, so this is a really well-known regiment. The 34th Armored Regiment, these are all like known regiments. So this is like my back of my room, and I have all these like things up there. So they picked that unit. So the back of my room beginning of the year is blank. This is from the beginning of the year. There's not much on it. But then as the year goes on, they can earn badges. Now they can earn badges individually. Individually, they earn badges by doing well on quizzes, 85 or above. Sometimes I give a discussion badge. We're having a discussion in class. That student was really great on the discussion. They earned it individually that way. They can also earn badges as a team. So if a team wins a debate, they get a badge. Now this picture right here, I can't zoom in. That's the secession debate badge. I kind of made the badges off of real military decoration ribbons. So that was a badge they got for that. They could earn badge for getting really good job on a note check. There's a note check star. So every time a team, I would have team note checks. If the whole team had their notes together really, really, really well, they got note check stars badges. So that was badges. And then if you got 5 badges, you got a rank. So these kids got their first ranks. Second rank was a private rank. Then they got corporal. And then later on, they had like sergeant and captain. They got more ranks. And that was bonus points on the quarter. And I think I showed you, I even did like a Instagram share out and Twitter share outs when kids got badges. Well, how do you do all this on Schoology? Well, there's this really cool place in Schoology. Let's get back to the courses. Called badges. I don't know if you've ever seen it, played around with it. Maybe you just didn't notice it, but there it is. And this will show you my badge screen. Now this is gonna be crazy. This goes up to the 3rd quarter. 4th quarter, we kind of stopped, unfortunately. So this is from the beginning of the year. These are all the badges. I made each of these individual badges. and I'm awarding the kids the little badges. And so they got badges for doing well on a quiz. They got badges for note checks. I put a little quarter badge in there. Like that was for me, was for my own personal use. The kids didn't get that badge, but to me, I remembered where quarter one ended and quarter two began. I kind of keep track of all this because I literally got to go count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that kid's got bonus points. Then I got to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, they got bonus points second quarter. It kind of keeps me on track. We had a Constitution debate. They got a badge for that group, got a badge for winning that debate. I give out an MVP debate award, another debate, quizzes, note checks, more debates. And if I go onto a student's profile, they would see the badges. If you go into your profile, upper right-hand corner of Schoology, you see all the badges you were awarded by your teachers for all classes. They all appear there, which is really kind of neat. So how do you make badges? It's really easy. So it's back to that resources folder. We're back in the resources tab. And let me go home. And I have, I think, a whole folder somewhere here of badges. There it is. So you can make a folder and put them all in there. But all you do is go add a resource again. And see, add a badge. Right underneath rubric. See that? Rubric, badge. Add a badge. Now, they have some pre ones. You don't need to, like, do that. You could, like, just use your own. You can use what they have. But they want you to tie an image to a badge. So I would give it a title, put a message in there like, congratulations, you received this, for whatever the case may be. Find a cool image I already kind of had picked out, and then that image appears on the badge. That's how I got, like, that's George Armstrong Custer. He was the topic of 17. I think down here I have Pocahontas, quiz 1 and 2 from early colonial history. Then I did, like, these were like images of the actual military ribbons I just picked. And then once you have your badges, open up your badge, I'll open up my badges folder. And these are always saved forever. These are all my badges. It's the same thing with a rubric. You just go to the badge you want and you go add to course. And then that badge appears in your course section. Okay. And that's already there for you. So you can make badges that are specific to your content, and it's a fun way. I teach juniors and they love it. They're into it. They want to know, I get a badge, and they look at their profile. They go to the back wall, want to look at their ranks. You can make a big deal about it in class, like we do, like a shout out, congratulations, all that kind of stuff. It kind of builds team building and all of that. And I think it's just a fun way to assess students, and you can still do that online through Schoology, no matter what the case is come September. Okay. So questions about that? Was that helpful? People might want to use badges. How many people might use a badge? I don't know. Anybody kind of yes, no, thumbs up? Cool. I think so. I think it's kind of fun. I think they're really kind of neat. Once you make them, you always have them. So it gets easier. Okay. Awesome. Very good. Now, one of the last things that I want to talk about, and I don't know, it's kind of, I think, one of the most important things of giving authentic, real feedback, whether through Schoology, is making students hear you and see you and giving them authentic feedback through screencasting. Now, I hope at this point, this might be something still new to you. It might be. If it is, that's great. I hope I can be helpful to this. If it's something that's not new to you, I apologize. And let me just kind of get a quick sense of my audience here. How many of you are actually using screencasting in some way? Okay, a couple of people. I'm seeing a lot of heads taking no, though. Over here, keep that going. Yes, no. Some of you, yes. A lot of you, no. Okay, good. Most of you, no. And this is good then. I hope this will be a very impactful thing for you, because for me, I think screencasting, I might argue, is one of the most important things that I do in terms of either direct instruction to my students and giving feedback on assignments. Okay, so screencasting is basically taking, let me get out of here and get back to my new slide here, my last slide here. So screencasting is basically you're basically recording your computer screen for your students, and that recording the computer screen becomes a video. So anything you do on the computer screen, any tab you go to, you close out this, you open up a program, anything you can do is being recorded for your students into a video. You have options with screencasting. You can record your voice while you're screencasting, which obviously is essential. You can put your face, like you see me right now, a small little image box in the corner so students can see you while you're making the screencast. Now, sometimes we're not dressed for appropriate, like you're just hanging out in your sweatshirt or something and you don't want people to see you. That's understandable, definitely. But as more times students see you, the better, especially for in distance learning. That makes a really, really important connection. They see you. They, even though they're not face to face, that little box where they see you talking while you're going over the screen is really important. Okay, so that's something to definitely keep in mind. Now, there are so many screencasting tools that you can use out there. And I like a lot of them. The ones I like, Screencastify, I'll come back to that why. There's a great one called Screencast-O-Matic. You can do that. You can also, you guys know this, maybe you don't know this, there are some great iPad apps like Explain Everything. And there's also a way to record your screen on your iPad. It's embedded into the, whatever we are, in iOS 13, wherever we are in, it's embedded. So you can actually record an iPad if you wanted to. In the past, I've used different software to record an iPad or a phone. What I've done, remember I showed you Air Server, that little program to bring my phone up on the screen? Well, I would bring my phone on the screen or my iPad on the screen and then use a different software to record my screen so I can kind of do more with it, and that worked the exact same way. So there's a lot of tools out there. My favorite high-end tool is a tool called Camtasia, which I use a lot. It's made by a company called TechSmith. TechSmith specializes in educational software and business training software, and I do a lot of work for them. I'm on their advisory team, and I've written stuff for them, worked for them for a year, so they give me a lot of free stuff. But Camtasia is like their high-end, where it's like almost like a complete video editing package, like a Adobe Premiere, Final Cut Pro. You can actually edit your screencasts, put music underneath it, put highlights, annotations, and really do some really fun stuff with it. So there's a huge broad spectrum of where you can go with this. But for most of you who are just starting it, Screencastify is the best place to begin because it's built into your Chrome browser, okay? And you can easily, go over different aspects with students, and it easily just automatically shares to Google Drive. Okay, so if I click on this link here, it's going to bring up just the website. You can record it. It's called Screencastify.com. It's really easy. Now, during the epidemic issues, they were giving away a lot of free accounts for schools just to use with no restrictions. I think that a lot of it's going to be ending come June 30th. For years, I was using the free account, and the free account limits your screencasts to 10 minutes. And then you got to make a new one. And that's really one of the only few limitations. Our school literally just come like April, when this all happened, bought into the full version of Screencastify where there is no limits on how long your video can be. But I used it for years without that, and it was fine. If I needed to make more than 10 minutes, I just made 2 videos. It wasn't really that big of a deal. So you can go to like school. It gives you overview and resources and things like that. And basically you install it, and it becomes a little extension in your Chrome browser. See it? There it is. That's my little symbol for Screencastify. So what I can do then with Screencastify is I can just click on the little link, and it gives you a lot of options. You can record your browser tab. Now, when you just only record one tab, and you can select which tab you want, it gives you a lot of cool like drawing and markup tools. You can like draw over your screencast with like a pen and do some cool things with that, which is kind of fun. Or you can record your whole desktop, which I do a lot of. So no matter where I go, my whole desktop, I close this screen down, I open up I open my anything I want, it records it. Okay. Or when you close out, it loses it. Or you can just do a webcam only. So that's actually really useful. If you want to give feedback as a quick little video of yourself, and they only just see you, that's really kind of nice. You open up the webcam, it's going to embed the webcam. You can do webcam only. You can select your microphone. There's a lot of just kind of neat things that you can do with this to kind of like customize it to the way you want it to be. And all you do then is hit record. It's going to ask you which screens. I got 2 screens open right now. But I hit this first screen, I hit share. It's going to give you a little countdown timer. There's some tools here you can play around with, like pens and highlights, and you can erase. So I could like do a little pen And, I can highlight my clicks. Oops, sorry, it's not working there. But I can do some different things with it. And anywhere I go now, I'm making a recording. I can get out of here. I can go into my slideshow, right? And I can do an easy recording of a slideshow for direct instruction. I can go to a student's Google Doc and I can point out things that worked well for them or whatever. I can go to a student's assignment and give them feedback on what they did well, what needs to be improved. I can show them, all right? I like so much more now showing students rather than just typing comments on the side of the page. So, sorry about that, the bell's going off. So they had their scripts due for their final project. Well, rather than me actually really typing on the projects, I went to turn it in, open up their final projects and turn it in and did a screencast for every single student's paper. And I go through the paper. Here's the area that was really good. Here's something you might want to look into. And I highlight it there for them. Our students are so video oriented anyway, that I think they'll watch a video more than take the time to go into an assignment and actually look at your actual text and feedback. I really think video feedback is more effective. That's just my opinion. And then when you're done, you press done. And then what it does is it's going to open up automatically in a tab. Here it comes. And it's muted, but I can unmute it. There we go. Go to a student's Google Doc. I can point out things that work well for them or whatever. Okay, let me pause it. I can trim the end or the beginning. I can rename this. There's a little editor built in. And I have a lot of sharing options. I can rate the YouTube channel, rate the classroom, get the embed code we talked about, generate a QR code for it. My favorite just is the simple old shares to Google Drive. And I go to more options here. I can make it a private. I can make it only at my school. I can make it public. I can make it unlisted. I hit copy shareable link. The link is copied. And now I can paste that link anywhere I want. And students get that link and they can view the video. Let me just paste it here. There's the video. That to me is the best part of this. Look how fast that workflow is. Copy the link and now you just paste it anywhere you want. You want to paste it on Schoology. You want to paste it as a comment in PowerSchool. You want to paste it on a Google Doc. Remember I showed you that's how I did all their assessing of their Google Docs. I pasted it right as a comment in a Google Doc. You can paste it anywhere you want. So for me, we can really get into a whole huge session on screencasting, but for me, just quick, easy, simple, easy workflow in terms of sharing. Screencast-O-Matic is just the ultimate tool. One of my favorite things to actually use. I use it all the time, daily. I use this multiple times.
Excuse me, Ron.
Yeah.
It's Maria. You had mentioned that it's important for the students to see us. In what you just did, is there a way to put us in that?
Yeah, let me just show you again. Well, I just didn't have my webcam on because I wasn't sure it was going to work with me using my webcam for this Zoom, but we can just do one again and I can do it here. And I got to show you one more thing, Maria. Thank you for reminding me about something. I go to desktop, I enable webcam. Now it won't pop up because I'm using my webcam for our Zoom. Let me show you an example though. So if you go into here, the little extension, see this little window, these little things here? This little,
yes.
little menu bar. This gives you a lot of ways to add it to customize it. So I have like a hotkey. If I just do like Control R, it comes up automatically. If I do Control S, it stops it automatically. It just little shortcuts for me. But if I go to like my recordings, this shows you all the recordings that I've been using and I've been giving to students. Some of them have me in it. Some of them don't. These are my Keisha students, my high school students. They're all in there. Do any of them have me in it? Sometimes I guess I didn't do it for the scripts. I must not have been having something nice on that day. But there's many that I'm in there. So you would see yourself at the bottom corner, as you're giving that recording. And it was kind of nice is you can actually move your box around. So if you don't want it to be in the bottom corner, you can move it over here, over there. You can move yourself. You can make it bigger or smaller. You can really customize it any way you want. And it'll kind of look like we're doing it right now. So that's how that works.
Thank you, Ron.
Sure.
One more question.
Yeah.
In the editing feature, does it only allow you to trim the ends?
With the free version, only the ends. With the paid version, there's a little more tools now. So see how there's a little bit of an editor here. You can add text over the screen. They've kind of added, this is all brand new. It was in beta like 2 months ago. I don't even know if it's still in beta, but you can like crop it. You can add some text over it, and that's useful. The other tool I didn't want to get too much into right now is a tool called Screencast-O-Matic. It's a little bit different. It's another extension tool you can also download to your Mac. You can download to your PC. Gives a little bit more functionality. Let me sign in. Clarence, I don't have a free account. I think Keisha actually has a real account, but it doesn't matter. So I can launch the recorder. I think my Keisha's account Keisha's bought the full version of this. Yep. And it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more involved, but it gives you a little bit more options of what you can do. And I haven't used it in a while because I don't use this often. If I'm going to do more options, I use Camtasia, but that's expensive. But this is a little bit different. You can actually here set the parameters of your screen. Screencast-O-Matic doesn't give you that feature. You can do a webcam, you can do webcam, or you can do screen, or you can do both. Here you can select. Now this is, do you want to actually record the computer's sound? Yes. I'm going to give you a little tip on something here, but don't tell you I showed you this. You can turn your mic off, but you can record the audio of what's being shown on your tab. Now, I'm not going to say anything, but what comes to your mind? What could you record that you might want to get the audio from and the visuals from without you being on it? Any video. Get it? You want a little clip from Netflix? You can record Netflix. Want a little clip from YouTube? You can record YouTube. Now, again, we can get into, fair usage, but I'm not going to have that conversation right now. But if you want to show something really cool from like a YouTube or from Netflix, a little clip of something, you can actually record their screens, and it actually does work. So you can screen record anything that's there. You can actually record it. So which is kind of nice. And this is a little bit different. And then here the editor is a lot more advanced, Tom, where you can do different things. You can add music underneath it. You can really get into it. You can add annotations and make a little more of a polished piece. Screencastify is just for me, just quick. Copy a link, share, copy link, share. This Screencast-O-Matic is a little more for something a little more, maybe if you really want to do more of a polished direct instruction piece. Does that make sense? Thank you again for taking this course, and thank you for watching this video. Again, if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, please use our Schoology discussion to facilitate all those issues. Have a great day. Bye-bye.